right, welcome back to another edition of the Bethel Culture Podcast, where we seek to
inspire,
influence,
and inform.
Yes.
The last one's not as fun.
I was really hoping you weren't going to ask me.
A long-time listener, first-time guest.
There you go,
right?
yeah.
Introductions. My name's Weston. I'm one of the pastors on staff here, along with one of our normal...
Kevin Fogarty, one of the pastors.
One of the regulars, and our new special guest...
The unnormal, I guess. Rikki Reed.
We're not going to call you abnormal. So we've asked Rikki to join us today because the topic that we want to do various points of inform, influence, and inspire is on education. And in the Christian world, that can come with some of its own baggage and judgment of good Christians educate their kids this way and not that way. And I have enough friends on social media to see their posts, and I'm sure we'll start seeing them in a couple weeks here. If you really love your kids, are you going to let the world raise them for 8 hours a day or whatever it is? So we have a variety of perspectives here that we're going to kind of hit some of the advantages and disadvantages of the various things. So for those you may not know, I've got 5 kids, and we have brought them. My wife was an educator. She taught 5th and 6th grade up until we started having kids, and we had our kids in public school the whole time, including even now 4 are going to be in state schools. And that came with its variety of pressures. We might get a little back and forth on that. And we contemplated various options. We contemplated homeschooling. We even had the thought for a while we were going to pull each one out for 1 year and homeschool them for 1 year, and really focus in probably that 6th grade coming out of elementary before they get into junior high. That all sounded great until we thought about the troubles of what they would miss and trying to regain friends and trying to get back into the school system, having pulled out. And so, not saying it was a bad plan, but it was one we ultimately didn't pull the trigger on. So that's my brief overview of public education. And then their approach to schooling has been...
classical. Well, just more recently, my wife started directing a group called Classical Conversations, which is a homeschool, not really a co-op group, but it's like a nationwide thing, worldwide actually. So if you went anywhere else in the country, or if you moved somewhere else, that you'd actually be doing the same curriculum at the same time. So you could almost jump into any other CC group across the world. So their kind of philosophy, well, their mission statement is to know God and make him known. So obviously it's the best way to do school. Just kidding.
Don't you want to have your kids know God and make him known?
Obviously.
Apparently we don't.
No, we didn't think homeschooling was it wasn't really on our radar until Judah was 3 or 4, whenever you put a kid in school. And we were just praying about it, and Steph never imagined that she would be a stay-at-home mom who homeschools her kids, because she went to public school, and I actually did all 3. So I was homeschooled through 5th grade, and then I went to the Christian school in junior high, and then I went to Rova High School for high school. So I kind of got the full gambit of all 3 of these, and so we never thought homeschool would be on for us, but it's turned out to be a great thing for our kids at this stage of life. Like, we always want to have a conversation with them every year and just see if there's a different, better option for our family at that time.
So good brief overview from the homeschool world, and the CC you do is just the 1 day a week, but it's the curriculum that drives the rest of the week, right?
Yeah,
like
thank you for that.
Gather together for 1 week.
Yeah, so it's a lot of songs and learning through different methods. So like our kids will be in the car, and they'll like driving home from CC or something, and they'll be singing a song like something something and communism, and so I'm like, what are you saying back there? And they're like, oh, it's our CC song. So like
it's not a cult.
Yeah, right, for sure. It's too expensive to be a cult because anyways, but yeah, it's a lot of learning through song and through different means, but it's the entire curriculum, and then you get together with the group on 1 day a week.
And then our third perspective is why we've a large reason why we invited Rikki on, because she brings her and her family bring a unique perspective to this. So describe your guys' education journey a little
Oh,
bit.
wow. So we dabbled in a little bit of each, mostly public school for my three boys. I have four kids, for those who don't know. My three boys all graduated from Galesburg High School and Galesburg Public School. So we have that. We did try homeschooling for a solid like 6 months, maybe. That would be Lydia's fifth grade year and Devin's eighth grade year. We were great, wonderful until winter hit, and then it was just like the stir craziness went off the walls
Was
and
this timeline wise? Was this pre-COVID?
pre-COVID. Yep,
Okay, okay.
pre-COVID. And so that's when I started like changing my views on the education system in general. Like, and we'll get to there later, but maybe I don't know. But just opening my eyes that I had options, I guess, because I didn't, as a young mom, you don't even know you have options, and you just do what everybody else is doing. And so that was when I was like, oh, pause, I have options, you know. And so that's when we were started testing the waters with homeschooling. We actually got to know Galesburg Christian School at the time. Lydia went and played volleyball at the time, and Devin played soccer at the time with them. And that's just where our relationship started with Galesburg Christian School. And then I didn't ever think that we would be able to afford it or anything like that. And once the stir craziness started going in and we were getting annoyed being around each other in the house, I put them back into public school, and Devin ended up finishing out his years at public school. And then Lydia was the one that changed everything. She's the girl, she has to mess everything up, right? So during COVID, during the shutdown, Lydia, if you know her at all, she is a very people person. She is very talkative. She has to be around people. She is worse at technology than I am, which is kind of crazy. So the whole online learning, the whole at home learning thing was just not her thing. She was suffering mentally, emotionally, like things like that. Her schoolwork was just horrible. So God laid it all happened like kind of all, y'all say it's funny, something like that. But we actually ended up and paying off our car probably about 6 months earlier. Didn't even think about anything at the time, but when we started noticing how bad Lydia was going downhill, we realized that Galesburg Christian School had the opportunity to be able to open back up to students before the public school did. And so, by God opening the door and having that monthly payment that we were already used to spending and going out anyway and budgeting, we actually were able to apply that to Lydia's going to the Christian school. And that's how she ended up going there. And now she started her seventh grade, December of 2020, her seventh grade year, and she's getting ready to start her senior year now. So we've just dabbled in a couple of different areas. So I don't know which one I would prefer.
But a good example of, I've heard people say, every kid every year,
Oh yeah,
trying to.
kind of like what Kevin said, and even you said, you just kind of have to feel your kid out and see what's best for them in the moment in that year. So
Yes, because again, like so many things in life, we had our plans and God laughed and,
yeah,
you
at
know,
100%.
did our other things. And so, every once in a while I look back and go, we've even talked to our kids about this. Should we have done that? And they're all like, no, no, absolutely. And for a variety of reasons, I feel like some of our kids might have benefited. Like even I look at myself and gone, if I'd been a homeschool kid, I had an inclination to be sheltered, to be in my own head, to be, it was so good to force me out there that I look at some of our kids, and if they'd been in that approach, it probably would have been pretty detrimental. Others, I think, could have done it, would have been
Oh
perfectly
yeah,
fine,
yeah, yeah.
and everything. So, well, let's do a little kind of advantage disadvantages as you've weighed it, as you reflected, as your kids are currently in it. I'm kind of curious, what are the things like that you love the most about it, and what are the things that you kind of go, I don't love this, but it's still worth the disadvantage is worth the advantage. But so let's start with what you love the most about the particular option you're currently in. So
Starting with
yeah,
me.
yeah, you kind of hit this already of,
All right.
obviously how the difference in Lydia has been huge,
Oh
but
yeah,
but
huge.
what are
Yeah.
some of the other big advantages that you guys love with Galesburg Christian?
With Galesburg Christian School, the parts that I liked the most and that benefited Lydia the most was that they are smaller classroom sizes. So she gets that one-on-one time. If she has a question or an issue or anything like that, she could walk up to a teacher at, obviously it's kind of in the middle of at any point of the day and get instant help on something. And the other thing that I like, just with the administration, I know I work there, but so even if I didn't work there, even prior to me working there, I to be able to get a hold of Bob Newtshorn or Jenny Gill is just like almost instantaneously. Like if you need help with something, they are available to help out. And so if you have questions about something about curriculum, about a class or anything like that, they're helping you and praying for your kid. And that's a huge part of it, is that they want to see your kid succeed. They have the expectations high for everybody, not just the accelerated program, or they're not just focusing on the lower kids. Those sometimes those middle kids that just kind of float through the system, they kind of get lost in the works, but Galesburg Christian School doesn't allow those kids to just get lost in the works. They have those high expectations for everybody. And so they push people, the students to do better on everything, and not just their academics, but just their Bible studies, their Bible knowledge, and their prayer life, and just being good human beings. So that's where I see the difference, the more personal, like in that kind of thing from the outside world. So.
Now, it does make me think of a follow-up question I want to
Mhm.
hit you with, because I've noticed this, and I don't necessarily blame the public school district 205 or others who get this way, will often treat parents as the enemy,
Mhm.
that parents
Mhm.
are a liability, not an asset, which I get. I'm sure in the school district there, like, they got to deal with troubled students,
Right.
but I know, like in a lot of places, it's more trouble to deal with the parents sometimes than the students.
Oh yeah.
Um, how does Galesburg Christian navigate that? Because from what you described, it sure seems like they're not treating the parents as, oh, we got to manage these parents.
Oh,
It
no,
sounds
not
like
at all.
they're
Yeah, they're completely open, and you could walk in and talk to, I mean, obviously, he has to work, Jenny has to work. They have their own tasks that need to be done at the day. And I talk about junior, senior high. They have Nikki Potter and Mandy Andrews over at the other campus. So, I mean, all of them are available at any point in time to talk with you, meet with you, to see what's going on. And I mean, I personally, as an athletic director, have had parents in my office just talking things and talking about life and how they could better work with their kids through things. So and teachers will come alongside you. It's not just Bob and Jenny. Also, it's or Nikki and Mandy. It's the teachers are all there, willing to talk with you. They want to see your child succeed, and they want to communicate with you on things. So.
not to say that you don't have crazy parents as well,
Oh
right?
no, I'm sure we do somewhere. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe one or two.
Crazy
I mean,
Christian
I
parents.
might
Yeah.
be one of those.
That's why you think it's so good.
That's why, yeah.
They're all managing
Yeah,
you.
they're all managing
Uh,
me.
well, let's give her a job. We'll keep her close.
I do have another benefit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, since I am the athletic director, I have to put in my own little plug that I have noticed, just with within that world, your student. Usually if you go to a bigger school, they already have their varsity team decided back when they're 7th and 8th grade year. You know what I mean? As long as they keep moving up, that's what your varsity team's going to be. With Galesburg Christian School, we have an athletics that where your child could try out any sport, and you could walk on and know nothing about the sport, and our coaches are genuinely just trying to keep your kids active, teach them the beginning stages of the sport, and wanting to see them succeed in that. I mean, we have all different athletic programs throughout the year, and that is something that sometimes in a public school you can't get your foot in the door, and so you have to go find a travel team or a city league team or something like that to be able to participate in, because they already have their team set. And so if you're walking in, or maybe you're not the best but you just enjoy it, you can't necessarily play on their squad. So that's one of the bonuses also.
Now, on that, you said your kids got started there. Does Galesburg Christian allow homeschool kids to
They
play?
do. We
Okay.
do. We
'Cause I
do.
know you can do it in the public school, but you have to take like one class.
We, as of right now, we're working on something, because as our enrollment grows, we have to become more strict on the homeschooling crowd that comes in. But right now, our board has approved that you just pay a fee, and then you have to attend a class during the be enrolled in a class. So one of the classes that most of our homeschools participate in is chapel. So they come
Okay,
in
that's a
on
plus.
depending on when the class is. It might be Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. They go in, they sign in and say that they attended chapel and that kind of thing. And chapel is a free class to be able to participate in. So other students, we've had homeschool students participate in art class, theater class, drama class, like that, maybe some of the arts, that they worship band, I guess it's called worship arts, I guess it's what it's called. They might participate in one of those things also, which those meet more often throughout the week, and there is a fee with those. But at the beginning stages, most people will start with chapel, and then they'll see if their kid wants to take another class. You could totally join in for a math, a science, an English, something like that also. So
Well, now that Ricky's going to get paid her stipend for promoting Galesburg Christian,
Kevin, do you get paid?
yeah, well, you it's
My
now on
wife
you. It's
does.
now on you to sell homeschooling and homeschooling in general, not to mention CC.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest advantage is not I was gonna say controlling, but being aware of what
Homeschool parents controlling what?
your student, your child is learning. Obviously, you're not gonna teach them some of the things that the world does, and so you have a biblical worldview of who God is and how to know Him. So curriculum is a big thing, but also just like the freedom of scheduling. It's really nice to be able to. Our family always likes to go on vacation in like January, February when it's freezing here and you get a little stir crazy, right? You're stuck inside. And so you love to just go to a beach when all the other kids are in school and it's really not that busy. And so we have that freedom. I guess we are a little more locked in now that we have a 1 day a week thing to be here for, but you could also schedule around that, and Steph makes the schedule so she can always just adjust as she needs to. But for our kids, they can work as fast or as slow as they want. Like they still wake up around 8 to 8:30. And I know your kids are already in school by then, right?
Yeah.
So
7:40 it starts.
And usually by noon, 11:30 or noon, they're done with their work for the day, because instead of just doing a little here and then taking a break or switching classes or doing things like that, they can just buckle down and finish, and then have the rest of the day to do whatever they want, play baseball in the backyard, do their chores, right, kiddos? Because my kids are watching this right now. Yeah,
I'm sure.
So yeah, just the freedom and flexibility to be able to do some of those things, and yeah, if we wanted to just take them to Fun Station, which we might be doing this week.
Fun Station?
Fun Station.
Where's that?
I think, is that the Burlington one?
Fun
Or
City?
Okay.
Fun City.
Fun
One of those
Let's
places.
Is it a
exchange
museum or
names.
is it a
It's not a
playland?
museum. No,
Okay,
no,
then
it's
that's
a-
Fun City.
Yeah.
I just haven't heard of Fun Station, so.
Fun Station. That's the one with the slides and the trampolines. So yeah, I think it's that one. Fun Station. Yeah.
That one
Anyways.
I just don't know. I haven't
Yeah.
heard of that.
But yeah, other kids would be in school normally on a Friday, and we're gonna, take them there. So
Nice.
yeah.
There are no advantages to oh no, I'm just kidding. No, one of the things a number of things that have been good. I mean, our kids, the connections they've been able to make to the community, obviously, they've invited a ton of friends to youth group over the years, so there's that aspect of things. Though, you don't put your kids out in the world just to evangelize or anything like that. But there are other, even just little advantages. Something, our oldest and then probably our youngest as well. Our oldest took a lot of AP classes. So that's something that you have the advantage of. Yes, you can do dual credit, but you have to pay for dual credit, at least in most situations. AP, we didn't have to pay, we don't have to pay to go to Sandberg for those type of things. So Caleb graduated with enough AP credits to basically be a sophomore.
Nice.
Now, with the kind of high rigors of those type of things, he got a full ride, scholarship, room and board, and everything. And so we told him, well, you could graduate a year early, but they're literally paying for your college. So we think you should go all 4 years, which that is what he's doing. That's his plan. So there's some advantages to that, like obviously the integration of sports and things. And my wife especially, she loves the education world. Now I will say, especially like early education, we found the rigors weren't up to her standards, and so they would come home and new younger teachers, well, this research shows kids don't need homework anymore. And my wife thought that was ridiculous. So they did a lot of work at school. I always joked that we were really homeschooling our kids and just sending them to public school for their socialization. That was kind of the joke we always made because my wife made them do, and they'll still talk today of, we had to come home and do worksheets. Nobody else had to do worksheets. None of our friends were doing this stuff. But it worked out. Our kids all, have done very well in school and education, which led to really good scholarships and all that kind of stuff. And it's been nice, that just sending our kids off to, state schools and things like that. I can remember being a youth pastor, watching some kids that I wasn't worried about at all in that situation, and other ones that I'm like, you may want to consider all of that, or things like that. But seeing our kids get to that place, in their faith, and not to say that, I mean, I always joke everybody is 2 weeks away from one decision that'll, throw all that up in the mix. So I don't want to, sound all prideful or anything like that, because our kids are capable of just about anything else too. But I worry so much less than I thought I would have. So watching that maturity, and I've seen that definitely over the years. Again, having worked in youth ministry for so long, all the parents who would be judgmental about any of these three categories, and as I would watch various parents, it seemed to come down to the parents in the home. I knew homeschool parents who did great, and some who did terrible with their kids. Private school kids who did great, and terrible public school kids who did great and terrible. And so, from an outsider's perspective, I went, yeah, it seems like it's a lot more about the parents than it is,
Yep.
the actual means of education, in spite of all the judgment and memes that are out there. So, anyway, those are. It's been a good advantage to us. We feel like we very much enjoyed it. We've enjoyed all the opportunities, and there are a lot of unique opportunities in the public school system that we've tried to take advantage of, and opportunities. Quinn's going to go to Germany this next summer on the
Nice.
German trip, and he's I think he's done German 2, maybe even German 1. He definitely speaks more than my other kids who took through German 3. We'll try to blame that on COVID, but I don't know if that's true or not. But let's hit a couple of the disadvantages, and I'll start off since I'm already talking on that. And I think the public school ones are pretty obvious, of just the stuff in the world. I mean, obviously they're going to be exposed. I remember Caleb, when he went to his 6th grade preview day. He was in 5th grade. At that point, it was Churchill, and he came back and he said, Dad, I learned a bunch of new cuss words today that were written on the back of the seats in the auditorium.
Oh, so it wasn't even audio; it was just reading them.
Yep. Didn't
He's
even
so
hear 'em.
innocent.
My
Yep. Goodness.
And he was. I mean, you can deal with in other spaces too, but our kids for the most part weren't bullied or didn't realize they were bullied. I remember Caleb coming back one day going, we were in the locker room and I was reading this book, and this kid came and knocked the book out of my hands. He was like, "What are you reading for?" And I was like, it was so lame. Like, I lost my page and I had to find it. And like, I remember a few weeks later, we're talking about bullies because it's still in my mind. He's like, I don't think there are really any bullies at Churchill. Everyone would be like, buddy, you're being bullied. But he didn't know.
Good thing he didn't realize
No,
it.
he didn't
that's
realize
great.
it. To him, it was just annoying that he lost his page in his book. We wanted to be like, you shouldn't be reading in the locker room. That puts a target on your back. So again, you're going to have those things. Not that somebody can't be bullied at GCS or things like that, but
Homeschoolers are always bullied, right, Kevin?
Yeah, by their parents. Yeah.
Especially by Weston. No.
throw
I'm teasing.
my stones here and there. But even other things like, and sometimes the stuff gets blown out of proportion. There was a period of time, and again, I understand. I have boys. I have tall, athletic, strong boys, and so when there was a period of time where it was almost a joke. There was a fight at the high school every day for like months. It was, you come home, was there a fight today? Yep, there was another fight today. And I know Damon was there
Yep.
during that period, and things like that. Now, the hard part is the school's trying to, get past that point of view, because it doesn't happen anymore. They've done a good job shifting that, but that's all people remember.
Oh yeah.
But my boys never felt scared. They were never worried. But, I also know my twins who just graduated are 6'5", starting varsity athletes. So I understand if you're not in that boat, it's a little bit of a different space. But there are those kind of disadvantages. Are there, drugs and promiscuity and language? And are there social agendas from teachers? When we go to parent conferences, we see all the signs of this is a safe space. But I would say they've generally done it well. Caleb, his sophomore year, was doing his oral presentation on the Oberfeld decision of the Supreme Court, basically that they shouldn't have, made gay marriage legal. And I'm going, oh man, he's going to get, and not only was he going to do it, like at that point he was a little probably too dogmatic in the way he said things, and so I didn't think he'd say it tactfully. And I wasn't worried so much about the students. I was worried about kind of the teachers or the admins would come after him if one or two students get upset or offended or hurt or snowflaked about it. But honestly, like the teachers understood that different kids, different perspectives, and then you forget that most kids really don't care
Mm-hmm.
and aren't paying attention, and so it was a
Right. Yeah.
non-issue. But I've really found most of the time they're willing to work with things and around things, and it hasn't been as bad as people. I hear horror stories all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and all I can say most of the time is that hasn't been our experience. Now, again, do they treat parents as liabilities more than assets? Yes. But I'm in there waiting for, to pick up my kid for a dentist appointment or things like that. And I hear the phone calls
Oh
that they're
yeah.
getting. I hear the complaints. I hear I'm there at, an hour past school to pull them out for an appointment or whatever. And there's still, I'm there for 10 minutes watching 6 or 7 kids show up to school
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
sign in and things like that. So there are all sorts of ridiculous things there, but that is also just life. And I've watched even some parents homeschool their kids through 8th grade and then send them into high school because they want that transition
Mm-hmm.
time. And I've seen that work well too. So, but there are some pretty obvious disadvantages. There's some of the standards. Are they going to be taught evolution? Yes. Do I want my kids to understand evolution because that's the language of the world? Yes. Do we believe that? No. And it's fun to talk to them about it. But that's worked pretty well in our household. So, disadvantages, Kevin, if there are any, of homeschooling.
I can't think of any. No, obviously, like the advantages for you guys, like the socialization, and even just as they began their baseball season, I remember Graham only knew one kid on his baseball team, so like just to watch him, like they're all talking about what happened at recess that day, and he's kind of like the kid on the outside walking in. The only other kid he knew was from a different baseball team who goes to the Christian school. And so, but I think they adjust pretty quickly to those settings, and they're able to make friends there. But yeah, obviously just getting to be around more people who need to know Jesus. And, obviously you don't send them into those environments and say, go evangelize,
Right.
that's,
Still forming who you are, but yeah.
right. Yeah. So yeah, there's that. And, yeah, I think that's the main thing. We're kind of running into like a sports thing, as they get older, whereas they can't play certain things now where they used to be able to. Like I think they used to have a Christian school thing where if you just took one class, you could swim, you could play tennis, you could do basketball. But I think that's changing as far as we know. So
Oh, at the public school level?
yes, yeah.
Gotcha.
So they can't play all the same sports that they would play if they went to the public school.
Oh,
So
interesting. I hadn't heard that. That's too
Christian
bad.
school.
Christian school, all right, just one class.
And it's chapel.
Chapel,
I
and
mean,
then we could speak at it, and then
There you
just
go.
make sure we know everything they're learning. I'm not that
complete,
controlling.
I was going to
okay?
say complete control.
That is not the goal, or why we do any of the things we do. Yeah.
So, Rikki, disadvantages?
I think the biggest disadvantage I've seen with Lydia so far, it actually just happened the other night at the pickleball court, and we've just seen little snippets of it. But since she did go to public school through 6th grade, and then now that she's like going out and doing things on her own with her license and hanging out with people and going out where public school kids are, people her age are also there, and they're like, Lydia, are where did you go? Like they
Interesting.
completely
assume she moved
forgot
away
about
or-
her.
Yeah.
She fell off the face of the earth. And so in that sense, I mean, Lydia's graduating class is going to be around 18, which, like I said, for learning environment, that's amazing. But sometimes those are your only 18 friends. Or, to be honest, we're a junior, senior high, and they interact with each other a lot, and they actually end up being friends with everybody. So you don't have that strict class friendship grade type thing. But she does, I mean, like if there's drama, there's going to be, I mean, you're either in the drama or out of the drama. It's kind of hard to be not part of the drama because they're still teenagers, They're still going to do teenage things and stuff like that. And so
It makes it hard
it's hard to,
when it's a small school too, and it's like, well, everybody, it's literally everybody.
yeah, it's literally everybody. It's like, which side are you on? And she's like, what if I don't want to take a side? They're like, no, you have to choose. I mean, I'm of course being
Yeah,
dramatic
yeah,
with
yeah.
it, but it's just like you feel obligated to take a side, in the drama. And it's just like, oh, and then next week there's a new drama with somebody else and that kind of thing. But mostly I think for her is just the fact that she's starting to notice that her public school friends kind of forgot all about her and were like, and so her friend group is really, 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 really small. So, but yeah, so I think that's the main downfall for her is just that friend group isn't she and she doesn't put herself out much. She's at Christian school. She plays all the sports or she's here serving. And so if it's not church or school, what is there to do at the public school that would bring her in? So yeah,
That's most of her life there.
yeah, that's her life. So
But it's good that it's become so natural to you. You didn't say what I think you were going to say as the biggest disadvantage, which is the finances.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, no, I
Well,
guess
you
not.
work there
Yeah,
too,
I
so
work there too. But I mean, well, that's just like it's just like I said, it's just your car. Like for us, it became our car payment, so it's just automatically like what it just automatically comes out of our account. It's an automatic thing that was budgeted, and I mean, there are things that we sit there and as things start to get tighter and things like that, we decide, oh well, this is something that we could let go. But Lydia has very much said several times that, and once again, nothing against public school because all three of my boys have graduated from there and we had great experiences there, overall and things like that. But for her and for what she needs, the Christians, she said that she does not want to go back to public school. And if we ever have to eliminate that from our budget line, she would rather us put her in just homeschool her
homeschooling.
because she just doesn't think that she could go and acclimate there, and fit in the way that she wants to. She is just some of the strengths that have happened through that. I know we already talked about these things, but she could defend her faith and her beliefs and those kind of things. And I just if somebody comes up to her and is like, just recently they were like, what do you want to do? And she was just like, well, I go to the Christian school and I want to, and next year I want to intern with Kira at Bethel for the children's director as a children's director. And I want to, work at the Christian school. And this guy that saw her at the pickleball court was like, okay, weird. She doesn't find that kind of stuff embarrassing to announce to people. She will sit there and probably argue you. I mean, honestly, and then she'll also admit when she's wrong, but she's genuinely wants to know her biblical knowledge, and she has fun debates. She loves to debate people about Bible and knowledge and stuff like that. And so that's just been a huge, but yeah, I think the falling off the face of the world, type of thing was the biggest downfalls, and not having a big friend group. Like I wish she had that, but you could get lost in GCS or GHS because it's so big. So that's
Yep.
just a personality thing too. So
And there are some advantages, sometimes when you have, I mean, like so many other things, you have so many people to choose from. We've watched over the youth ministry of the years. You have the friends you grew up with by default because they were at your school and
mm-hmm.
live near you. And you get into junior high and especially into high school, you mix your friends group up and then you're like, oh, by choice. And I feel like nowadays when there's less neighborhood kids that people play with,
Mm-hmm.
they don't learn that skill of, well, I wouldn't necessarily choose to be friends with you, but you're in the neighborhood, so I
You're
have
by
to figure it
default,
out.
yeah.
Now people just, well, I wouldn't choose to be friends with you, so then I don't. And by having to like, well, these are the few other upperclassmen,
Mm-hmm.
you better learn how to be friends. You better
Yeah, you have to get along with each other. It's kind of like a
yes,
family. This is who you're stuck with. Figure it out.
and
Yeah.
that's a good life skill rather than, well, I feel hurt, offended. This isn't a safe space of a group of people, so I need to go find and honestly, we see it. I mean, I'm on some of those. Good tip for college age parents. There's lots of Facebook groups for whatever school your kid's at. And then you see parents chime in, and I see parents chiming in all the time of my kid doesn't connect, it doesn't have this, it kind of makes me wonder. And these are public school type kids.
Mm-hmm.
Did they only find their particular group of safe friends and didn't learn those skills
Mm-hmm.
on how to navigate people who disagree with them
Mm-hmm.
and that they're forced to? So there are those good things. It is just hard sometimes when someone's at has a kid or multiple kids at private school and they're just complaining about how tight finances are. And there's part of me that always wants to go, I could fix your finance problems in one decision.
But is it
Uh,
worth it in the
is it
long
worth it?
run?
And that's the truth.
A
It's
small sacrifice sometimes.
And that's absolutely true. You have to weigh those value things, of whether or not, yeah, it's worth it for your kids, for what works for them, for all those type of things. So it's a trade off because there's sometimes you get what you pay for.
Hmm.
You described the sports world, and that is very different than the sports world that our kids
Yeah, yeah.
experienced.
Well,
So
just like I said, like Lydia was mainstream C-level student at public school, but Galesburg Christian School, she is now a 4.0 student, and it's because and I feel for the public school teachers. They're teaching 100 kids, at the high school level.
right.
And so but our teachers are teaching a smaller amount, and they could pour into and make sure you're actually fully comprehending information, and Lydia asks a lot of questions, and so they're able to take the time to answer her questions. So
Well, as my stepmom, who was an educator too, she would often say, are they teaching the class or teaching the student? And
mhm,
when you get to a certain size, you can't help but teach the
right.
class. But at your situation, you get to teach the
And you
students.
guys invested your time at home, Amy, I mean, to be
Right.
able.
We're able to
So
do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
When my kids are struggling with math or physics, I can sit down with them.
I'm not able to
Uh,
help with math and physics.
I can't help with the
There's been
English
many
stuff.
times I'm sitting there going, Lydia, your math teacher gets paid to teach you this.
Yes. We pay
or
her
you
to
or,
teach
or
you
you
this.
could go call Weston.
There you go. So Amy helps with the other more language-based things, but well, excellent. Well, hopefully, I'm curious if anybody wants to put on YouTube. How old am I? Uh,
MySpace.
there you go. On the interwebs, if you want to put on YouTube any of your thoughts, comments, what's worked for you, maybe tips, tricks, situations, back to school thoughts. But we're going to transition to a new segment that we haven't done before called "What You're Reading." Because I thought I want to do something, Ricky. I know she likes to read, and so we thought we'll ask each of us, "What are you currently reading, and why? What's it about? Things like that." So, Ricky brought her books,
Mm.
I'm
um,
a visual person.
or what my kids would call a tryhard.
Oh, no.
Uh,
Maybe. Do I get aura points?
Aura
Yeah,
points.
yeah. Or
Yes, Ricky's bringing
Aura points.
bringing in her books. She's aura farming over here.
there you go. That's what it is.
Aura
Aura farming.
farming.
There you go.
Yes. For those of you who don't know, Eli Spillman is here filming us, and he is, dying. For those who don't know, if you didn't catch that I said aura in a sermon a couple times ago, my oldest said he would pay me $10 if I
Did you
worked
get
at
the
a
$10?
I told him he didn't have
Oh,
to,
okay.
because I didn't actually say aura farming. I slid it in with a couple other
Uh,
things. So, anyway, Ricky, you got your books. Why don't you hit us up?
well, there's a theme with my books.
Okay.
So the books I'm currently reading are A Praying Life. I am doing a women's summer Bible study with Bethel stuff. So we're reading this by Paul Miller. It's really good. It's teaching you to have childlike prayer, which Kevin spoke on just this Sunday. I listened to your message. So
This week?
yeah, it was in there.
Oh, I was like, that's not
It
what
was
he
it was
spoke
it
on.
wasn't the main topic, but
Okay.
you
But it
put
was
it
in
in
there.
there. It was
It was
my
in there.
takeaway because I was like, that's part of the book.
Ties
So
it in,
Gotcha.
yep.
so
I was like, I'm
um
pretty sure he spoke on forgiveness.
he
But
did. He did.
okay,
He
okay.
did. He did. But he brought it up, just the fact that like I grew up thinking that you had to pray a certain way or God wouldn't listen to you. And this book just reassures you that you could pray anyway and just come to him. And so this has been an amazing book that I've been reading. Josh and I are making some major changes in our lives in the next year. So the book that we together had just finished up is The God Ask. It's when you are asking God big questions and asking people to support you in those big dreams, and God telling you to go a certain way, to not be fearful in how God tells us to be dependent on Him and those things. And so that is that.
With the last name like Shadrach, you kind of have
I
to write a
know,
book
right?
like that.
Steve
Uh,
Shadrach, The God Ask.
There you go.
That is more for people that are contemplating going into the mission field. That's what that would be for. For cultural awareness, to be able to see how you would fit into a different culture if you are planning on going that route. Somebody suggested a book. This is a non-Christian book. I just realized that last night while reading it. Very much so. It's A Year in Provence by Peter Maley. It's all right. I'm just reading it because it was suggested to me, and I already am halfway through it, so I figure I should finish it out. But the book that I recommend to anybody and everybody currently on my journey and my walk, it's To a Different Drum by Pauline Hamilton. Josh and I had the opportunity to go to CrossCon this winter with the young adults group, and they're help me out with names. I'm horrible with them.
Matt Chandler.
Nope.
I don't remember who
Davis
else.
Anyway,
Platt.
yes, thank you.
David
And the
Platt.
other guy.
JP Pekluda?
No. Anyway, they highly suggested this book because they're big on raising up the next who is it, Eli?
John Marco. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay.
Mark Cromer.
He was big on raising up the next generation to go into the mission field, and one of the books that he suggested was To a Different Drum, and it's a lady in the 1920s that went to China, and how she adapted the things how God worked in the small ways of her life, the little things that God did to be able to direct her into reassuring her in what she did, and so this has been a huge reassurance to look for the little things that God has been directing us in our next journey that's coming up. So,
All right, you've teased enough. Can you give us like a 60-second version? Because
Yeah.
at some point, I think I want to have
I was
both
just
you
gonna
and
say.
Josh on to give us a
Yeah.
bigger overview of this for this podcast. But
Absolutely.
60-second version of what these books are all about for you guys.
Josh and I have decided to answer the call. We are moving to San Felipe, Mexico, and Baja, California, to help out with 2 different ministries down there. Where we plan on moving there next fall. So August of 2026. We will be starting our jobs September of 2026. So we will be leaving our kids here with the village that we are fortunate to be around, and starting a new task that God has put us in. So
All kids, or is Lydia coming with you?
all kids are
All
staying.
kids are staying. Okay.
Like I said, Lydia plans on staying here, and she has a set plan. So
Okay.
she wants to be with Damon. She wants to help Damon out in his ministry. So,
Oh, fun.
and Devin, and of course all of her friends. But yeah,
Yes, and extended family and
yeah,
all
yep.
those
Or the
things.
village. That's why I
The
say the
village,
village
yep,
that is here helping out. So
Well, so again, there is so much more there, but
Stay
we thought,
tuned. Yeah.
this is
yes,
the big announcement, I guess. I mean, it's not a secret. There's a bunch of rumblings and stuff like that, and everybody's like, "Are we allowed to say anything?" It's not a secret. We're just trying to get all of our ducks in a row before we.
but how do you get it out there? You know,
Oh, yeah, how do you?
That's what social media is for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you should put some book reviews on there.
There you go.
All right, that's what Rikki is reading, and just nobody's going to hear any of the rest of what we say because they're
Because
only
everybody's
going
gonna be like, "What's going on with the
Yeah,
Reeds?"
the Reeds are leaving. Okay, so Kevin, try to keep everybody's attention.
Yeah. The Worship Architect, great book if you are going into worship ministry. I've not read through this one before. I'm reading through it with the interns, Ethan Roberts, Ethan Oxley, and Ben Plattner. So shout out to the worship guys. It's a great book that they think I'm just taking them through it because I need to learn some stuff, which is fair. And a lot of times with interns, I like to do books I've already read that I know are good, but this was one that Ben is going to read next year at school. So I thought,
oh, that's why that
There you
came.
so
go.
I thought we'd get him a head start and talk through. They ask a lot of good questions in like before you even read the chapter. It's like break down your worship service. Like, are there things that are not necessary? Like, why do you do certain things? And just ask those questions, and then they jump into that chapter as to like why we structure a worship or how we plan songs or what they say or what the purpose of all that is. So it's really about, since it's called the worship architecture or architect, we're trying to be the ones that structure and plan out with all the windows and trying to see God's glory and the cornerstone, obviously, which is your microphone
Yeah.
working
Gosh,
well?
gave up.
Okay. So yeah, great book if you're interested in leading worship or asking questions. Actually, the reason why we had Layla Mosky read scripture this past Sunday is because in that book it said you should try to get the word read by all generations. Like, and I would say typically we have like elders or pastoral staff or someone along those lines read scripture on Sunday, but I was like, that's a great idea. So like I'm learning stuff along the way as we do this together. So this is some fresh stuff just that's coming out of reading this book. What about you, Weston? What are you reading?
Excellent. Yes, I'm yet again having technical difficulties. So, yeah, it's what I do. You should have seen Eli and I before this podcast started. We were having lots of fun. So I'm currently reading two books. I have two tech interns. So the book we're reading together is God Has a Name by John Mark Comer. That's who Eli was mentioning earlier. And I've generally liked him as a preacher. I know Kevin's done a little training stuff with him on how to preach and those type of things. But the book God Has a Name, he's got some more popular books. His current one's pretty popular. Something the Way. Is it just called The Way? I don't remember what it's called, but the one that everybody usually knows is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. That's the one that hit the New York Times bestseller. And but anyway, it's just a good book thinking about God's character and name and how that interacts. And so Kellen, one of my tech interns, and Eli and I have been reading that. And then Eli had a book for one of his classes that he wanted to go through on thinking about media and its impact, and it's called Amusing Ourselves to Death. And if you took any kind of communication class in like the 80s or 90s, you may have had to read it. I got about halfway through yesterday. We've met a couple times. It was higher level than I expected. I don't know if you're caught up, Eli, or not. But it's been really good, challenging. The funny part is it's written in like 1984, 85. And so it's really reflecting on the impact of television in our lives and what it does to our way of thinking. And the funny part is you can basically read it and go, if this is television, how would this book be written today about social media? I mean, we kind of all talk about what social media is doing to our brain and to our kids and smartphones and all this kind of stuff. But this gives and I'll not oversell it, a very academic way to think about process, moving away from the written word of things, not just the Bible, but the written word in general for people who don't like to read. And we all feel this, right? We all kind of know that, we used to watch, movies and then, movies sounds long. I'm going to watch a TV show, oh, that sounds long. So I'm just going to scroll on my phone and doom scrolling, as they call it. And I'll say to my kids, like, well, we'll sit down and watch something and, they'll end up being drawn more to their phones. And part of it, we're watching something inane, so it doesn't pull their attention as much. But I think as a society, we want them more short term. When one of the chapters we had to read for this week talked about how many hours, Abraham Lincoln and what's his name, the debates, Stephen Douglas, that they'd be scheduled for like, person would do 3 hours and then a 1 hour rebuttal and then a 1 hour rebuttal to that. Could you imagine a presidential debate? And these weren't even presidential debates when they first started, type of thing. Like, nobody
would watch it.
No, and we think of people in the 1800s, they are uneducated, type of thing, and yet they took in that kind of content. And if you read the speeches, the level of linguistics and syntax and diction and all that kind of stuff, the vocabulary that these people were using, the people in the 1800s weren't as backwards and and they weren't as illiterate as we think they were.
I'm guilty of it. Whenever I hear about any kind of speech or anything like that, I'm like, I'll just wait for the news to give me the snippets of the zingers that catch your eye. So yeah. I don't watch the whole thing.
No, and I'm with you. Yeah, like I'm not going to actually watch it. Yep, I'll watch someone else's interpretation of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, really interesting thing. If you like that kind of stuff, you will probably eat it up. It's probably worth it just for reading the introduction in the first chapter, but the rest of it's been pretty good. But Eli and I are both like, okay, when's he actually going to get? He's still, we're 5 chapters in and it feels like he's still introducing the topic. But it's an academic. Anyway, it's fun. I enjoy reading. I'm taking a break from classes right now. Kevin's about to start classes, so he's going to have to be pouring through a whole bunch of books. I don't think I'll do any more until January. Though I will give a little shout out for, what's the book I really liked? Canoeing the Mountains, leading through was uncharted territory. Man, if you like a good book on leadership from a Christian perspective, Canoeing the Mountains, pretty great stuff. Okay,
I recommend. Yep.
Yes. So that was our kind of fun segment. For the last segment, we like to do a little spiritual segment. I'm mainly going to turn to Kevin here, although he was about to leave.
I do need to go. Do
Okay.
you want to do it another time?
Yeah, we'll have to
Okay.
do that one another time.
cut
I'll
that
just cut
short,
this off.
yeah.
So we're going to wrap up for there. Thank you, Rikki, for joining us. Goodbye, Kevin. Have a great time. And thank you for another episode of the Bethel Culture Podcast.